Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to continue The Hidden Girl, a true story of the Holocaust. And we're going to go to part two, The Other Side of the Bridge. Chapter 4. Once the war begins, borders all over Europe close, and Jews cannot leave their countries. In each of these countries, Jewish parents are looking ahead, desperately trying to find ways to keep their children safe until the war ends. Jewish children are especially vulnerable because Hitler wants to be sure to erase future generations. Parents have to decide whether to keep their children with them or hand them over to non-Jews willing to hide them. Often, children are given to complete strangers. Hiding children, it turns out, is easier than hiding adults. Children do not have papers. Children can simply show up on a farm as somebody's cousin's child whose parents are dead or ill, or they can be placed in an orphanage or in a convent. One historian later calls these the visible ways of hiding. Visible children are hidden in plain sight, but they have to keep their true identity secret, their accents, their native language, and above all, the fact that they are Jewish. There are always people, even other children, looking for Jews in hiding. When you turn in Jews, sometimes there's a reward, money, a little coffee or sugar. Much of the time, people turn in Jews for no reward at all. How and where a child will be hidden depends on whom the parents know, whom they can trust, and how much they can afford to pay. You don't know in advance who might help you. Some people who say terrible things about Jews take Jewish children into their homes anyway. Others who hate Hitler and everything he stands for say no because they're too afraid they'll be caught and punished. Arrangements are made in the strictest secrecy. If someone hears that someone else's little girl is going to be hidden, he might try to set it up so his own little girl takes her place and goes into hiding instead. At any time, of course, things can go wrong. My grandmother must have been planning my hiding for weeks, probably ever since my mother died, finding someone she could trust, and a safe place, and paying them for it. But Babcha had not said a word to me. The risks to people who hide Jewish children are enormous. On October 14th, 1941, the Germans made a law that anyone providing shelter to Jews or giving them food or even selling them food is to be killed. Poland is the only occupied country with this automatic death penalty. And it isn't just the helpers who are in terrible danger. When Polish people are caught helping Jews, their entire families and even their neighbors are killed too. In one village, some people gave food to 100 hidden Jews in a forest. When the Germans found out, they burned down entire village with everyone still inside their homes. I don't want to go. I can't bear to leave Babcha, but I go. I walk quietly and carefully. I stay close to the buildings as Babcha told me to. I'm so close the walls sometimes brush against my coat. I keep looking behind me. I'm quiet, so quiet that I can't even hear my own footsteps. I see no one at all. Under the bridge, there's a lot of brush. I sit down. It's a cool evening. The leaves are prickly against my back. Against the back of my neck. I wait. After a few minutes, I hear footsteps and the swishing of a skirt. I know that Ukrainian women wear long skirts that make this rustling sound. But what if I'm hearing it wrong? What if the person coming toward me is a policeman or I'm sorry guys. What if the person coming towards me is a policeman on patrol? I could be shot. I step out of the brush. I see a woman wearing a kerchief. I came for you, she says to me in Polish. You will be staying with me for a while. I nod at her. Follow me. I pick up my bundle and we cross the Seret River on the narrow bridge, which has a tall cast iron girders that crisscross one another. I can walk on the bridge openly. I'm no longer a child walking out alone after midnight. Now I'm with a Ukrainian woman. I could be her child. That feels safe, but I'm still afraid, my heart beating wildly. If we should be stopped, I don't speak Ukrainian, and the police are Ukrainian. If you don't speak Ukrainian, you are assumed to be Jewish. Simple as that. We walk for quite a while, maybe 2 miles, before we get to her home. It is still dark, before sunrise. Chorchkov seems far behind us. I don't know this area at all. The woman's name is Tekla Zarkovchev. She has a farm with a straw-thatched roof where she lives with her daughter and son-in-law. Inside the house there's a long hallway. To the left is a big living room. At the back of the living room there's an archway with a curtain, and there's a narrow little room behind the curtain, only as wide as a bed. You have to stay in that room, Tekla tells me. When the dog barks, crawl under the bed. I do as she says. I am not forgetting to be a good girl, as Babcha instructed me. Tekla's son-in-law resents that I'm here. She's just a dirty little Jew, he says. She'll get us into trouble. We'll suffer because of her. I can go to the bathroom early in the morning and at night. If I have to go during the day, I'm not allowed. I have to hold it and hold it. There's a window, but it's too high up for me to stand up and reach. That's probably good because I might be tempted to look outside and then someone might see me. I once heard about an animal in the Polish forest called a marmot, a kind of ground squirrel, a member of the beaver family, about as big as a cat. When marmots are scared and angry, they make a whistling sound. I'm not out in a deep forest full of oak and beech trees. I'm on a farm with fields and cows and chickens. But I wonder if I can hear the marmot whistle if I listen hard enough. I have absolutely nothing else to do. I stare at the blank walls. I remember how bored I felt when I had pneumonia. That was so much better than this. It's spring 1943, still windy and cold. The woman's son-in-law works in the fields. I'm always scared of him. That's the life of a child in hiding, being bored and being scared. I never hear a marmot whistle, but when the dog barks, I rush under the bed. The Ukrainians are a superstitious people. They believe there are spirits everywhere, in the trees and fields and rivers. There are dangers at almost every turn, and to avoid them you have to be aware of omens. If the chickens get sick, that's a bad sign. You never bring an even number of flowers to someone's house. It means death will come to home. You don't leave an empty bottle on the table. It will bring a disaster. During Christmas, you put an axe outside your door to keep away evil spirits. If a woman gives a man an Easter egg that is undecorated on top, he will lose all his hair. If you whistle indoors, you will lose all your money. Before you go off on a journey, sit on your luggage. This will ward off bad luck while traveling. After someone dies, family members and friends gather at the grave 9 days after the death, and 40 days after, and 1 year after. This is when the spirit is nearby. Candles are lit and a meal is eaten next to the grave. A glass of vodka is left so the spirit can drink from it. The worst thing of all is the evil eye. If someone gives you the evil eye, terrible things will happen to you. You will lose your money. You will get sick. You will die. Some people wear mirrors beneath their clothes to reflect the evil eye of the person sending it. To reflect the evil eye back to the person sending it. I don't call it the evil eye. I've never seen the evil eye. I don't know what it means. I do know that there is someone in the house with me, under the same roof, someone with 2 eyes who wishes I would disappear. That's son-in-law. I am now as invisible as I can possibly be. It's not enough. He wants me dead. Sometimes I'm allowed in the big living room when it's safe and no one's around. One night, about 2 months after I arrive, a man and a woman simply walk into that room when I'm there. The dog isn't barking. These people must not be strangers to the household. The man starts to talk to me. I'm stunned for a moment. Somehow, I don't know how, I come up with an idea. And it's like I grew up in that instant. I have to. And something inside me knows what to do, the way my mother knew to pull the board away from the wall. I point to my ears like I'm deaf. I point to my mouth like I can't talk. Tekla, who's watching, picks up on this. She's a deaf mute, she tells the couple. She's a distant relative, only here for the night. I'm taking her back home tomorrow. The man and the woman leave me alone. After this, the son-in-law carries on something awful. That's it, he says. I'm taking her to the Gestapo tomorrow. Sometime in the night, I feel someone shaking me. Is it the son-in-law coming to take me to the Gestapo? No, it's Tekla. She has a finger to her mouth. Don't speak. Then she whispers to me, get dressed. We're going someplace. I put on my favorite dress, the white one my mother made with flowers and leaves. I take nothing with me. I'm so scared I don't even take the special cup. The cup I promised Babcha I'd keep with me always. We don't walk on roads, we walk through fields. Tekla's walking ahead so quickly I have to run to keep up with her. It's June, but cool at night. Why didn't I bring my coat? I try to keep my thoughts in order. I'm so terrified it's not easy. I don't even know what direction we're heading. Are we going to the Gestapo? No, not likely. She wouldn't take me there at night when they're asleep. Maybe she's taking me back to the ghetto, back to my grandmother. That would be heaven. We reach another farmhouse. Later, I find out we're near Charchkoff, on the outskirts of town, in an area called Virginica. This is where my nursery school was. At that moment, it doesn't feel at all familiar. The house belongs to Tekla's sister. Her name is Anna Asupchuk. Anna is in a barn, waiting for us. She is short with small, narrow eyes, dark hair, thin lips, round, pale cheeks, and a scarf tied tightly around her face so it looks like a perfect circle, like the full moon. That's the end of chapter 4. See you guys later.